How do you explain the difference between what people are used to as a personality test and then this as a tool?
I always say those are other typing systems, right? They might separate you into a specific type, like with Myers-Briggs and ENFJ or an ISTP, like whatever. Similarly, the Enneagram is separating you into a type, but it's so much different than those other tests because those other tests are describing who you are, your behaviors, maybe the things that you like or dislike, whereas the Enneagram is describing why. That's like the why behind why you do the things that you do, the motivations, your biggest fears, your biggest desires behind some of those behaviors. So they're very different, but that's also why the Enneagram can be used as a tool, because if you understand what's motivating you to behave a certain way, then you can ultimately change maybe those behaviors that you might not like.
So do you use I always use like silly examples to give people so they understand what I mean by motivation versus behavior. So I'll say like 3 people could be late for 3 different reasons. Like, do you have examples like that? What
I
do you
always
use?
typically use conflict. Like 3 different people could dislike conflict, and it's really the motivation behind why they dislike conflict that separates them based on Enneagram type versus the act of disliking conflict.
So the tests that are like the Myers-Briggs, the other personality typing tools do a lot to tell us our behavior. So how am I going to show up in conflict? The Enneagram is, why did I show up the way I showed up?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's like the deeper layer. And I know this because I've done this work, but I think it's so valuable for people to understand, like, what's the value of knowing the motivation versus the behavior?
Yeah, like I said before, it can help to not just explain maybe behaviors that you're doing, but behaviors that you might not understand that somebody else is doing. So, let's take the workplace, for example. If you are working on a project or working on a team and you're like, why is that person doing things that way? And that's so different from how I would do it, and it's driving me crazy. Simply just having the knowledge of their Enneagram type could explain why they might do things a certain way. So it's not to be used as an excuse, but something to help explain some of those behaviors.
I remember when I first learned it in the certification, the facilitator said the Enneagram is a system that shows you the box you've put yourself in and how to get out of it. So for people listening, the Enneagram is a personality typing system, and there are 9 types that we all embody. And so I remember when I first took it, I'm a type 7. It was shocking to realize, like, oh, other people don't show up in the world like I do. Not everyone's like living for the experience and the fun and the adventure and the excitement and the optimism and the happy. Like, I was shocked.
Yeah, for sure. And it is a shocking experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, people, even back from what you said about how the Enneagram finds you, it's often not like a comfortable thing of like, oh yeah, this is me. There are pain points that go along with each of the types as well, and almost like punches in the gut when you start to realize what your type is, because you're like, oh, if I'm doing things this way, what does that look like when people are realizing on their own that this is totally different from what they're doing, So it definitely is a discovery piece in and of itself.
You're an Enneagram 2 and I'm a 7. And so I think about the idea that, like, if there are 9 total types, core types on the Enneagram, I was certified in core type plus subtype. There's the core type, which is like, I call it the flavor of the ice cream, and the subtype is the sprinkles on top of that. And it helps you get clearer on who the person is and why they're showing up the way they are. But I could speak 7 to you and you're speaking 2. So you're interpreting what I'm saying or what I'm doing from your 2 perspective and vice versa, which means we can oftentimes be missing each other, even though we might have the same intention to, have fun together or to do a project really well, where we just, figure out how to get to a location. We're speaking different languages and we're not understanding it. So I think that's really the power, is understanding that, like, oh, I talk 7, you talk 2, and here's what that could mean for where we could get in trouble in relationship to each other.
Yeah. And 7 and 2 are a perfect example of what we were talking about, where behaviorally they can look very similar, especially when you talk about certain subtypes of each of them. But it always comes back to those motivations, and what is motivating you is going to look different than what's motivating me.
So you are type 2, which is called the considerate helper or the helper. Talk to me about that. And I want to know what learning your type has helped you understand about yourself.
The first thing I was going to say is like, wow, I can be really annoying. But again, like, because there are times when learning about the Enneagram and diving into it that you're like, oh, I wish I wasn't this type. And that's a very normal feeling. Like, to listeners, I want you to just be gentle with yourself, because there are times when you might be thinking, I wish that I wasn't this type, or I wish, I could be a different type. But for me, I learned that really my sensitivity to things and to people and to emotions and to feelings and needs is almost like innate. And it's not something that I learned over time. I'm sure I learned how to navigate that, but it's something that I was kind of just born with, understanding that people have needs. I need to figure out how to fulfill those needs. And I want people to feel the same love and appreciation that I want to feel.
So that sounds like a lovely type, right? Like, we all need and would love a 2 in our lives. I have a couple of them. And you said there's also like the gut punch. What's the gut punch that you felt for the 2, right? This person who comes into the world with a sensitivity and awareness of what we need and how to love and appreciate people sounds amazing. What's the downside?
The downside is like needing other people's approval, right? Is like the fact that 2s need to feel needed and loved and wanted. And that can be exhausting sometimes, especially as you get older and people are busy and you're, trying not to keep score of like, oh, I've done X, Y, and Z for these people. Like, why aren't they doing that in return? Obviously, that's different. There are different levels of health within each type. But of course, there are always going to be downfalls or maybe some not so great things about the types. But learning that about yourself, I can look at my friends who aren't 2s and not feel that way about, I do these things for them. They don't do it for me in return, because I'm like, they're not even thinking that way. And that doesn't mean that they love me less. It doesn't mean that they care about me less. It's just that their brain is literally not wired the same that mine is. And that's okay.
They love you different.
Right.
Like, and that's kind of, yeah. Hey everyone, thanks for watching In the Arena, a podcast exploring how to reach your potential and live with more clarity and intention every day. If this video resonated with you, like and subscribe to the LinkedIn News YouTube channel for more like it. And you can get full episodes of In the Arena with Leah Smart on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts.